I'd like to begin by thanking Adela and all of her team for all the efforts to make my coming here possible. I've talked with many people here in UT, most of you are here today. And here's my thanks to each and every one of you and the ones who are not here, because I know what an effort it was. I would also like to point out the fact that I couldn't be here if it not were for the amazing team I am proud to be a part of, and for the students with whom we attempt to build a different reality. My immense thanks to them also. To begin, I'd like to share with you a phrase from a text written by a student in the Devoto prison. His name is Jorge González, and he is currently the president of the university center that functions within that prison. It reads, "Violence rules in prison, because prison is a violent institution itself. However, the reasons for conflict are not thought of keeping the institution in perspective. They are thought of in an individual manner, placing the responsibility of the prison's malfunctioning in those who are incarcerated. For this reason, believing that prisons are thought of in an improvised manner is naive." I am here today to tell you about my experience as an educator in context of confinement in Argentina. I am part of the prison extension program of the Faculty of Philosophy and Letters of the University of Buenos Aires. Since 2013, I've been coordinating a workshop on labor rights and cooperativism, and since 2016, I've been part of the program's coordination team. You may notice during my talk that I speak of we and not just myself, because the core of our work is truly collective. Around the room, I've placed some QR codes that you can scan so you can access the program's website, where you can see our actions, our publications. I've also left some quotes and texts written in our workshops, and that you can take them with you. I will use some of the quotes during this talk, but I will read them in English, and I place them for you in Spanish, so you can have the original, because translating slang is not an easy thing to do. In 1983 ended the harshest civic and military dictatorship we had ever endured as a country, leaving behind 30,000 disappeared people, stolen children, and a collapsed economy. This is not the topic today, so I'll carry on, but I needed to paint the picture where the program begins. Argentina's people embraced democracy and began trying to rebuild social ties. During that period, a group of people imprisoned in what is now known as the penitentiary complex of Buenos Aires Autonomous City, usually known as Devoto's prison, Cárcel de Devoto, began talking with university teachers and professors about the possibility of accessing higher education while being in prison. So, in the year 1985, an agreement was signed between the University of Buenos Aires and the Federal Penitentiary Service to teach law at Devoto's prison. That is how the UBA 22 program, UBA stands for University of Buenos Aires, started to be. As you can imagine, a lot has happened in almost 40 years. Different faculties began offering their careers, and in fact, the Faculty of Philosophy and Letters, the one I belong to, began offering the career which we call letters, and it's a combined degree of literature and linguistics, in 2011. However, as I was saying, it would be a long story to tell, and today I'm more interested in discussing ideas. So I will now briefly narrate the origins of the prison extension program, and after I'll plunge into sharing some thoughts on the work we do. Currently, the university offers careers at 3 federal complexes. Devoto is still the complex with the larger offer, mainly because it's the only prison that's located in the city. To arrive at the other complexes, one has to travel at least 1 hour by car and 2 hours by public transportation. Our faculty offers letters both in Devoto and Ezeiza 4, which is a complex for women, and philosophy in Ezeiza 1, which is a complex for men. Other careers are law, as I have already mentioned, sociology, psychology, business, and social work. Also, there are extension activities, which I will comment on in a few moments, and as part of them, there's basic computer training. I must stick to my script because I have a passion for excursus and I don't want to do that. So, in 2005, a group of teachers of the queer studies area of the Faculty of Philosophy and Letters offered workshops at Devotos prison for the first time. What had happened was that during some protests against changes in the city's contravention codes, a group of activists was arrested and sent to prison. Those first workshops were organized to offer a space where those activists were accompanied by the university during their stay in prison. It was through that experience that the faculty came to know the UBA22 program and began considering the possibility of being a part of it. So in 2011, the same group of people started having meetings with other faculty members, with the families and close ones to the people in prison, and with organizations that had experience as activists regarding the rights of those who were incarcerated and of people who had been released as well. The purpose of those meetings was to create a program that would carry out actions that would guarantee the access of incarcerated people to human rights, and also actions that would make society realize that stereotypes were damaging to people in prison, not only because they would portray an unreal image of such a fragile population, but because it was a lie that allowed society to keep ignoring what was really going on inside prison complexes. And that's how the prison extension program came to be. I believe telling the story is important because it allows us to think of many things, such as what is the advantage of having the university teaching within the prison. One of the main effects is that more people get to access higher education. If the way the program worked was to allow incarcerated people to go to the university, the resources are so limited that only a few would be able to do so. Also, we believe it can change the way society thinks about prison and imprisoned populations. The University of Buenos Aires has 3 pillars. Can we move the slide, like the next one? So as I was saying, the University of Buenos Aires has 3 main pillars, or at least it says it does, which are teaching, research, and extension. It is not my topic today, but I do think that the university needs to discuss again how it prioritizes each area. Nonetheless, the prison extension program works trying to give each of these aspects its rightful hierarchy. Its goal is to elaborate, propose, and coordinate practices and actions of research, teaching, and extension in contexts of confinement, aiming to guarantee and expand rights for incarcerated and liberated people, and to promote the inclusion of that same population. Throughout the years, we have offered various workshops within the prison complexes with different topics: creative writing, history, philosophy, popular education, pinhole photography, etc. Some of our workshops are offered more regularly than others, as the collective editing workshop, in which we produce the magazines, which I will show again later, and then I can pass them around if you want to check them out. And they are also all online, so on the QR code you will be able to find all of the issues. We produce 3 magazines: La Resistencia, Resistance in Devoto Prison, Desatadas, Untied in Ezeiza 4, and Los Monstruos Tienen Miedo, The Monsters Are Afraid. You can try and figure out who the monsters are, in Ezeiza 1. So that workshop, and the one I coordinate on labor rights and cooperativism, which we'll refer to in a few moments, are some of the workshops that are stable. Currently, there's also workshops on creative writing, music, radio, and introduction to university life. In these years, we've been coordinating the workshops. We also guarantee the offer of courses and seminars for the university careers, and we hold study groups with students who are studying the same on the outside. The important thing about the workshops is that there's no education requirement to participate in them. So that allows more people to access the university center, because to study a university career, you need to have your high school degree. But the way the workshops work is that everyone, even if they are starting primary school, wants to participate, so they can. And that allows us to promote more access to the university center, so that it's pretty important for us. While doing this, we also carry out research projects on creative writing and the effects of having access to higher education in prison. We also need to apply for grants to be able to purchase materials to carry out our activities. The work we do at the workshops is without a salary. We do it because we believe in it. However, the teachers and professors who go there for specific courses belonging to the degrees do so as part of their workload. Working this way, we have been able to think and ponder on the effects of prison, on the effects of education in prison, and the place in which society holds prison and the people who inhabit it. I will refer to this in a few moments, but first I'd like to mention that our practice has allowed us to take part in public debates and to have a say when certain laws regarding prison life were discussed publicly and in Congress. As an example of our participation is the discussion on Article 140 of the law on the execution of sentences, which organizes life in prison, basically. So that article allows imprisoned people to have their sentence reduced for reaching different education goals. For the reasons I've already referred to, other actions that the people in the program have also been organizing different seminars for graduate and undergraduate students which discuss these issues. The ones for undergrad students sometimes include the possibility of going to the prison complexes and getting to see how the program works up close. Another major event we do every year, we can go to the next slide. So it's going to be like a couple, I think 2 or 3 more, which are pictures from the event I will now refer to. So another major event that we do every year for the past 11 years is the National Meeting on Prison Writing. So during that activity, we invite programs from all over the country to show all of the creative work that is being done in prisons. For the past few years, we have also received materials created in other countries. During the meeting, we also have people who have been incarcerated and read and share what they have written or created. We have specialists on different topics pertaining to prison human rights, the rights of incarcerated and liberated people, etc. And it's important to say that when we were allowed to, we got imprisoned people to come and participate at the meeting, but for a very long time now, judges are like not so keen on that, so they won't give the permits. Sometimes for kids they do, and it's a very big thing because they come like escorted with the guards, and the guards but sometimes misbehave. But we always try to get incarcerated people to participate in the meeting. We are not always able to do so, but we try. We print magazines and we produce books and articles to share our thoughts and our knowledge, and we discuss the consequences of incarceration on people and the huge potential that fragile populations have, but aren't able to explore because of the limited conditions in which they live. What I would like to do now is share with you our approach to develop all of these practices I've been describing. To do so, I'd like to begin quoting Silvia Federici, who says, "Joyful politics is politics that change your life for the better already in the present. This is not to deny that political engagement often involves suffering. In fact, our political involvement often is born of suffering. But the joy is knowing and deciding that we can do something about it. It is recognizing that we share our pain with other people, is feeling the solidarity of those around us." When she talks about this, She explains that we all carry the scars of being hurt by capitalism, some more than others, of course. But she also says that it is through the acts we do together in a collective manner that we all heal ourselves and transform the reality we live in. And we also build knowledge and strength. To build this strength and knowledge, we all need to have a curious attitude towards the world so as to be active in its transformation. What the prison system does usually is try to kill that curiosity. As Paulo Freire taught us, to educate and to get an education as a freedom exercise is the task of all people who know that they know very little, but wish to know more. And they do so by speaking with those who usually believe they know nothing. And it is through this exercise we all transform the way we think into believing we can all learn more. By working this way, we get to rethink prison and its effects on the people who inhabit it. And because of that, we feel the need to share the reality that these persons live, which is different from the one that mainstream productions usually show. Cesar González, an author and film director who began writing in prison, explains it this way. Every week, a new movie or TV show is launched, and allegedly it'll show themes in a realistic fashion, promoting themselves as the true mirror of harsh territories such as prisons and villas. I would translate that as hoods, I think. Could be wrong. It would seem then there is an abundance of reality in them, but the truth is we are choked with images of mere fantasy. The main problem with those images is that they make people believe that the lives of fragile populations are not worth living, and, as Judith Butler says, lives that aren't considered worthy aren't mourned. We believe that all lives matter, those of fragile populations matter, and we work and we struggle to make this visible to the whole society. As I mentioned, being a part of the prison extension program as coordination team, it implies a variety of activities. I've even taken part of a music workshop because that's what, like after the confinement for COVID-19, it was like the first workshop that we were allowed to teach. So it's like, it's going to be music. Okay, and we did it. This means that we usually have one main focus, but we also do a lot of other things that now I will refer to my main focus, which is that in 2013 I had left the organization I have been active in for a number of reasons, and I was looking for a new place to do things. I had taken a class with a teacher who was part of the prison extension program, Silvia Delfino, and I became interested in the program's activities. So I met with the director, Juan Pablo Parchuk. We talked about the project, and he mentioned that the year before, a group of incarcerated men from the Devoto prison had organized a union. And they were in need of specific education in order to develop their union. It is called the Sindicato Unido de Trabajadores Privados de la Libertad Ambulatoria, which translates as the Union of Workers Deprived of Ambulatory Freedom. Very pompous. And that's how we came up with this workshop, which I've been coordinating since that year. Let me tell you, music workshop is a lot more fun. Throughout the years, the syllabus has changed and the dynamics with which we work have too. If we can go to next, I think it's 3 or 4 slides. I will refer to the union's work. This is a magazine that the union put out, and this is a number of La Resistencia, where the union published its news so that everyone could read it. One of the actions that remains the same is that I have always worked with the union to organize each semester's classes. So I always talk to them, and what they're interested in, what they're worrying about, to develop the program. And for that reason, when there were events that would concern them, they'd become a part of the class. In 2015, for example, they were under attack from the press. So instead of showing the work that the union was doing, like fighting for labor rights inside prison, I didn't mention this here, but it's important. In Argentina's laws, labor in prison must be ruled with the same rules, like the same laws as in the free world. So that's important. So that's how the union came to be, because there's kind of a loophole in the law that allows them to exist. And but while the press back then was portraying them in a way that society would frown upon them. For example, they were showing, they were making public the sentences of the members of the union, and they would also make a comparison, like for example that a retirement pension was less money than the wage that an imprisoned person was earning in prison, so that you can imagine what public opinion did with that. And in the year 2017 was another significant moment. The Congress held a discussion to modify the legislation that organizes life in prison, law number 24660, I've mentioned it before, and to make it more regressive, withdrawing rights from incarcerated people. Throughout that year, we participated in various actions, like parliament discussions and hearings, protests to try and stop it. Notwithstanding all of our efforts from inside and outside the prison, we lost. The workshop was a space where we discussed the modifications, we thought and wrote answers and explanations on all the reasons why it was unfair what the Congress was discussing. As a part of this work, there's a notion that I would like to introduce now, which is the network of organizations and activists that we are part of and we work with during the lost battle, but also before and afterwards. And currently, if you can go, I think it's a couple more slides, one more, and one more, yeah. So this is from that moment in 2017, like these were all the organizations that were fighting to stop the modifications on the law. And we have developed a concept to refer to the way we work, which in Spanish is segundeo. This is very hard to translate, but it would mean something like having each other's backs. So that's the idea of segundeo. And I would like to begin with a quote that says, "Going to prison is like taking a leap into the void. Having a network is like having stock investments. It's a part of the capital that most people don't have within or outside prison. To have a safety net that will catch you, that is flexible, a net that won't let you fall because you are too big a burden. A network that will stay with you at times when most people wouldn't, especially because not having that kind of network is usually the reason why most of us end up in jail." This text is the preface to a book called To Let Live, To Let Die, and it was compiled by an organization called Je no fui. They work from a trans-feminist and abolitionist perspective. And throughout the years, the prison extension program has built a network with other organizations like human rights programs and sometimes legislators who fight for people who are incarcerated and also for people who are released. There's not a whole big bunch of them, it's just a few that embrace our perspective. Because usually when people are released from prison, their lives are more complicated than before. The lack of network makes people make desperate choices. For us, working with others is the manner in which we have become stronger, and we have been able to create solutions for some of the problems these fragile populations face. To describe this line of work, We use the concept we call Segundo, and I will now read two fragments of texts that have been written by people in prison or people who have already been released and the organizations they belong to. Originally, they had a lot of slang, so I apologize, but I'm really unable to translate it accurately, so I will, yes, I will paraphrase and you will get the idea. But some of them, I mean, the quotes are in Spanish, like around the table. And if you will go, I think on the next slide, there should be, yeah, which I will be reading. So the first one belongs to a text called Collective Manifesto, and it was written during the confinement for COVID-19. And I'm going to read a small paragraph which says, "We are brave. We are so much more. We are second-hand because there's nothing first. We write against those who believe that writing is a waste of time and resources. We write against first-hand stories that don't leave any room for anyone else. We write so that those who haven't lived through it can feel it, so they can get to know us. We stand up against those who silence us. Our words flood the ears of those beings who are asleep, who are automatons. Our words awaken them and confront reality and justice, and they transform both of them." It can be found in the book Relatos de Segunda, and I will read now another one, which is called Ode to Having Someone's Back, which would, like in Spanish, it's Oda al Segundeo. And the reason why I'm sharing both of them is because they have been written like in different contexts of different organizations, both of which we work in prison. So this is to show that what I've been mentioning about collective work and building a network translates into things like this, which we don't speak about this, but then we share what we have written and the same ideas appear. Having someone's back, standing up for someone, to create something collective, that which is collective, the rancho, which is people who stay, that you stay together with, the nieris, that is people you feel like your partners, to be an activist as a way of understanding that our problems are not individual, that we don't abandon no one because that is wrong, that is something you just don't do, because that's for those who feel they are law enforcement. Never becoming Woolrich, which is the current security minister in Argentina, never becoming Bernie, which is the security minister in Buenos Aires province, always having each other's backs." So this one was written by the organization Shonofui, which I also mentioned before. The reason why I share these two fragments is because having each other's backs, the segundeo, as we call it, it's a fundamental concept for us. Imprisonment breaks relations of trust. And having a network that will catch you if you fall is fundamental to endure both imprisonment and life after prison. I'm coming almost to the end. So in order to illustrate other parts of the work that I've described, as I mentioned earlier, our program believes that combining teaching, extension, and reading and researching is the way in which the university builds knowledge that answers to society's needs. It is through the combination of the three elements that everyone who is involved in these practices builds knowledge in a collective manner. My recent focus is on Pinhole Photography, produced in Argentina's prisons. The ideas that I've been working with combine concepts specific to photography in dialogue with imprisonment dynamics and effects. Do you know what Pinhole Photography is? Yeah, no. Okay, so it's kind of photography that in order to make it, you don't use a camera, you kind of build a box, and then you put a hole through it, which will be the pinhole.
Oatmeal box, no? The oatmeal boxes are cylinders.
Yes, for example, they will work great. But you can also do one with a soda can, for example. I do a lot of that. And so then you put, like on the other side of the hole, like a reflecting paper, for example. It can be done with photographic paper, and so you you open the pinhole, you let it expose, and then you close it, and then you need to develop it, but you get an image. And the thing about pinhole photography is that in Argentina's prisons, cameras are usually not allowed. Last year we have been getting permission, but we are not saying it out loud in case they change their minds. Usually, since cameras are not allowed, this has been a way of creating photographs even though cameras are forbidden. So it's like a way that we can get a loophole and get pictures from the inside. I will only make a very brief comment on this, which aims to illustrate what I have described about the way we work. So time is the measure for sentences in prison. But time is also a crucial concept in photography, and it is even more important in pinhole photography because to take a pinhole photography you need a lot of time because you need a lot of light. So while time can be a heavy thing if you are thinking of the time you have left in prison, it can become lighter when you get to think of it as a tool to create an image. In a similar way, the power to make decisions that usually is taken away when you enter a prison because suddenly you are told what to wear, when or what to eat, when to shower. So you gain it back when you produce a pinhole photography because you need to make careful choices to create the picture that you have in mind. Like you have to take a lot of decisions. So in a way, in this manner, you gain back like the decision-making power that you've been taken from by the prison system. Research allows us to ponder on how new dynamics, for example, those brought by creative processes, can change the way people perceive themselves in prison, because those dynamics defy the ones that the prison system imposes all the time. So I think I have pretty much covered everything, but and I would really like to hear if I have like comments or questions. But just to finish, I want to show you, and then we can like pass it around. This is like the last issue, the latest issue of the Los Monstruos Tienen Miedo magazine, which is the one produced in Ezeiza 1. Pass it around, and the picture is it was a picture of the coverage of a big demonstration that took place on April 23rd this year to defend Argentina's public university, which is under attack from the new government in Argentina. The students who make the magazine chose to use this picture as the cover to show that they want to defend the university as well as the rest of the Argentinian people. It was a very big demonstration because it's the same university that offers the program that allows them to get higher education. But also it's a symbol that through education we can be free. So we will keep on fighting for our rights from within and outside the prison. The last slides contain some pictures like that were taken at the demonstrations against the change of the law that I was referring to that organizes life in prison. So it's like, I think there's 2 or 3 more. And this demonstration was done on the outside of the prison, but on the inside the people were like banging things to make noise. So it was like a joint protest. Okay, so that's everything. Thank you very much for your attention.